she went.
We know that a lot of the rhetoric we've heard from Donald Trump has been seized on by terrorists, in particular ISIS. Mr. Trump is giving aid and comfort to our adversaries.
We have Fox team coverage for you ahead of tonight's debate. We have Mike Emanuel, who is covering the Clinton campaign. John Roberts is with the Donald Trump campaign.
That's right. John Roberts is out there by moonlight right now with the night glow in the dead heat. Nice to see you this morning, John. We'll start with you.
Clayton, Heather, good morning to you. I mean, why wait for the sun to come up when you can do this by moonlight, right? So I talked to some folks from the Donald Trump campaign yesterday when we were hanging out around Trump Tower. And really their game plan for Trump is tonight to let him be himself. Don't fill his head full of too many facts and figures, things that he might forget during the course of a debate. They look at what happened to Mitt Romney back in 2012 at the last couple of debates, and they feel that he just had so many things that he was trying to get in, so many things he was trying to say, that he just froze up. So what their goal is really is to get maybe 3 or 4 good sound bites in, a couple of good attacks against Hillary Clinton, and then call it a day. They also believe that the expectations for her are very high, and in fact the CNN ORC poll taken just a couple of days ago showed 53% of people expect that she is going to win this. So definitely the bar is higher for her. They believe that if they can play to a draw on the Trump side, they'll actually win it. Now, what are they expecting from Hillary Clinton? Listen to what Kellyanne Conway told our Harris Faulkner last night on Fox Report.
Well, I'm sure that Hillary Clinton is trying different scenarios and testing out different zingers and lines. I recall she tried that against then Senator Obama in 2008, and a couple of them really fell flat because they're not particularly funny. The message has to match the messenger and the delivery style. The Donald Trump you will see is the one that we're seeing on the stump every week.
Now, you really want to talk about the significance of tonight's debate and how it relates historically. You know, some people are going back to Kennedy-Nixon in 1960. I think that the comparisons, Clayton and Heather, are more like they were in 2000 when you had that highly anticipated debate between the polished Al Gore, who had been vice president for 8 years and was expected to really mop the floor with George W. Bush, and then went in there with such a kind of strange attitude and all those cutaways of him sighing. Really, I think gave that first debate to George Bush. So this is going to be one of the more interesting ones that we have ever seen. Back to you.
Yeah, that Saturday Night Live mocking him.
Yeah.
With all the sighing off camera.
They don't mock anyone ever,
No,
really?
of course not. John Roberts, caught between the moon and New York City this morning. Thanks,
Thank you, John. Well, now we're going to talk about the Clinton campaign, of course, and they're crying foul even before it begins, Clayton.
That's right, and the senior political correspondent Mike Emanuel is live with the latest on the Democratic debate prep. Mike, good morning to you.
Clayton, Heather, good morning to you. For the Clinton team, there's clearly been an effort to build up expectations for Donald Trump and to try and manage expectations for Hillary Clinton. Clinton had a really busy night last night, meeting with another world leader, another high-profile meeting, and also doing about 2.5 more hours of debate prep until about 11 p.m. Her allies and supporters are calling for Trump to get into specifics, coherent answers to questions, and to demonstrate a command of the issues. The debate hall here at Hofstra is set, and with Trump almost a foot taller than Clinton, there's been an effort to make sure it all works visually tonight on TV. Late last night, Clinton's running mate predicted she will deliver at the debate.
We are 6 weeks from Tuesday, and tomorrow we start the home stretch with the debate. Now, I tell you, I know this about Hillary Clinton. When the lights are bright like they are now, she brings the A-plus game to the table.
Clinton also met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, an effort to show she will be comfortable meeting with world leaders if elected. Clinton's top aides are working the moderator and the media to say there should be no double standard.
I'm very concerned that Donald Trump will be graded on a curve. Just because he doesn't fly off the handle in the middle of this debate does not mean that he is prepared to be president of the United States.
The Clinton team has been pushing for real-time fact-checking of Donald Trump's answers, the concern being that some of his most effective lines may not exactly be true. Clayton, Heather?
That's certainly the point.
And who will do the fact-checking? That's a big debate right now.
You can have Wikipedia on the ready. Mike, great to see you this morning. We'll check back shortly.
Yeah, you can always count on Wikipedia.
Right, it's always so accurate. Hey, we want to know and hear what you think about the candidates in the debate.
So what do you want to hear from them? Just send us your comments on Facebook, Twitter, or send us an email to foxfriendsfirst@foxnews.com, and we will share them throughout the morning.
Yeah, whether it's terrorism, whether foreign policy, what do you want to hear from them tonight at Fox and Friends First?
Yeah. Well, tonight's face-off is expected to be the most watched debate in election history. Some new polls revealing that 11% of voters are still considered persuadable. You were saying that it could top numbers of the Super Bowl?
We had comments yesterday with Dana Perino. She thinks that those independents are tighter than that. I don't know. 11%, that seems like a lot right now. Polls also showing a third of voters will use the debate to make their choice.
Which is why it will be interesting to hear what people want to hear the candidates talk about.
Yeah, extremely or quite important, 34% or 65%. You know, going back to like the Nixon Kennedy debate, over 60 million people watching that debate. And then, of course, you have Monday Night Football tonight.
Yeah.
So whether or not you'll TiVo the debate and watch football, or you'll TiVo football and watch the debate.
Interesting. And, you know, you compared it to that presidential debate. There are actually more households available to watch the debate as well. But then they have more resources in how to watch it. So will that affect the ratings?
I mean, there's so many ways to go online and watch clips later. Will there be those one moments that stand out, like John Roberts was just talking about, those sighing moments? Will people be tuning into those clips on YouTube? There are those famous moments from Ronald Reagan, the most memorable moments from those debates that stand out to everyone. The rest of the night gets overshadowed by those clever sound bites. We saw that during the Republican primary.
The soundbite in the Reagan debate, of course, being, I wouldn't hold my
age against you. Take a look at these podiums right now. What's interesting about these podiums, we heard obviously in the lead up to these debates, is that Hillary Clinton was asking for a sort of an apple box to stand on, right? Because she's so much smaller. Donald Trump is, you know, towering over her, and they wanted to put some sort of a box for her to stand on, some sort of a stool to stand on by the podiums. That's not going to happen, but they did adjust the podiums to her height to make it look like it wouldn't be as ridiculous.
Well, that tells you how much goes into the behind-the-scenes preparations for these debates, and how there are people in place that think about every single little detail.
All right, we want to get to a political debate this morning. We got some people up early, bright and early with us this morning. Here to weigh in this morning is radio talk show host and Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall, and GOP strategist, author of Red is the New Black, Kathy Lynn Taylor. Good to see you this morning. You know, we're looking at these new polls this morning, and I have to say I'm pretty interested to see that this new Wall Street Journal poll saying 11% of persuadables are still out there. Do you guys buy that? Kathy Lynn, I'll start with you.
Absolutely. Tonight is the night everybody's been waiting for, and it's the night to watch. You know, a little fun known fact, probably the most watched event in television history was actually the 2011 Cricket World Cup, India versus Pakistan.
Oh, so good.
Trump and Clinton are going to have to see if they can rival that tonight. But there are still a lot of undecided voters, and that's been a big reason that Trump has been able to create so much momentum over the last couple of weeks, because he's been able to shift these independents towards him. And there's still a lot more out there. You know, this whole election is a marathon, but these next few weeks are a sprint, and it's going to be very interesting to see what comes out of tonight. Everyone's going to be watching.
And Leslie, tonight we're talking, you know, immigration, national security, economy, and the trustworthiness factor has been a huge problem for these candidates. Where do you expect Hillary Clinton to go on national security? She's going to have to answer these issues on the Iraq War. We know that Donald Trump is going to hit her hard.
Well, I think that she can hit him hard back, especially when you talk about trustworthiness. You know, was he for it? Was he against it? What day is it? If it's Tuesday, we must be in Belgium. The bottom line is that she has the experience, and she has to be steady with substance and with facts. Because I think not just that 11%, I think it's a higher number, actually, more like 20% that's in play. And independents that historically, when they get there, may say, like this time around, they're going to vote for a Johnson or Stein. Usually when they stand there. Most of them are not going to do that. So Hillary just needs to, I think, quite frankly, be as honest as she can, be as personable as she can, but show her experience and show her knowledge with substance and with facts.
And speaking of that, Kathy Lynn, let's take a look at who do you trust on the issues when it comes to immigration specifically. You have Clinton 50% and Trump at 45%. So, and then also with national security, Clinton 47%, Trump 46%. The economy, Trump in the lead there, 51% over Clinton with 44%. So what does he need to do? Kathy Lynn?
The name of the game for tonight is two four-letter words: tone and idea. You know, when he was advising Ronald Reagan many years ago, Roger Ailes told him it's not about the facts and figures, it's about the themes. Hillary may have the facts and figures, but she hasn't had the conversation with the American people that Donald Trump is having, and that's what's resonating. So he really needs to stay very calm, very charming, and follow his own advice with regard to the art of the deal. He is making a deal with the American people, and that's who he has to imagine he's speaking with on the other side of the deal table. These are issues tonight that are his strongest polling issues: national security and the economy. So this is really set up very well for him to continue this conversation and make his mark tonight.
Leslie, all the talk has been that Hillary Clinton's going to come out and needle him, you know, goad him on, and that the Trump camp is trying to make sure that he doesn't go off the rails and say something untoward. Do you buy that, first of all, or do you think we're going to see a softer, nicer Hillary come out and say something that would floor everybody?
I think we're going to see a bit of both. I mean, I personally have said it before. I'd like to see that A Few Good Men, Jack Nicholson moment with Donald Trump, because when he talks for more than 30 minutes, he does tend to go off the rails. But then again, Hillary does have a likability issue, and Donald Trump does very well with the personality. And if you look back years ago when George W. Bush and John Kerry had 3 debates, 3 out of 3, John Kerry won, but he didn't win the presidency. Why? People felt they could have a beer with George W. Bush. Now, people may not want to have a beer with Hillary Clinton, but she needs to be not just smart, not just experienced, but also personable. I do think there are ways that she can go Donald Trump, even with national security.
Like
using
Mark
his
Cuban
own
in
words.
the front row, perhaps?
You know what? I think on both sides, I think that's absolutely ridiculous. This is a very serious thing. This is a presidential election. Right. This is the first debate. This could actually change some voters' minds, and we shouldn't care who's sitting in the front row. We should care what the candidates are saying.
All right, guys, we appreciate you waking up early for us. Kathy Lynn Taylor and Leslie Marshall, thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, time is now 11 minutes after the hour, and the sports world still stunned after the sudden death of Marlins star pitcher Jose Fernandez.
You just seen that little kid that you see when you watch kids play Little League.
How fans and fellow athletes are remembering the 24-year-old ace.
And just hours away from the first debate between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, what do they have to say to prove they are the best commander-in-chief? We'll continue to analyze.
And welcome back. As the presidential candidates get ready to make their case to America tonight, a recent NBC poll reveals most voters think the country is headed in the wrong direction.
So what does each candidate have to do to prove they are the better choice? Here to weigh in, U.S. Naval Reserve Officer and former Treasury Department analyst Morgan Ortagus. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Appreciate it.
Good morning.
So let's
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
We love having you here. Let's begin with Hillary Clinton. And 4 years ago, let's talk about what did not exist. We had ISIS in its current state, did not exist. The Iran nuclear deal did not exist. Russia had not invaded Ukraine and Crimea, not to mention what's happening in the South China Sea, and North Korea as well. So, are we better off than we were when she was Secretary of State?
Heather, you laid out my point exactly. I think what the American people are going to be looking for tonight is who do they trust to lead us in very difficult and perilous times. And what Hillary Clinton has to prove tonight is that she's going to do something different than what President Obama has done the past 4 years. So how is her plan for Syria, for Iraq, for the Iran nuclear agreement, which has given them the money and the capabilities to build the bomb. What are her plans that are different, and how is she critical of him? Heather, she's in a really difficult position because if she is critical of him, she risks alienating her base. But I think if you look at the polling, if you look not only at Americans, but at the entire world, they do not feel a common thread that there has been strong leadership under President Obama. That's why we see attacks in Europe, attacks in America, and we see the Middle East blowing up.
And yet we had Dr. Sebastian Gorka on Fox and Friends this weekend who said, look, Donald Trump has not laid out a plan for ISIS. He needs to be specific about what he would do to go after ISIS. He's talked in sort of broad strokes, in general terms, but he needs to get specific. Do you agree with that?
I do agree with them. Look, there's probably going to be upwards of 90 million people, so far the estimates say, watching tonight. What are people looking for? They want the confidence that one of these two people are going to be able to lead us and get us out of the quagmire in the Middle East. They don't want to have to worry about going to a military base or going to a shopping mall and be attacked by someone who sympathizes with ISIS. These are incredibly difficult and complex things for us to have to face as a country, and that's why we need a leader who says, here's my plan. Calming and reassuring words and strong talk, of course, by either candidate are important, but a plan for what are we going to do different from President Obama. That's what I need both of them to say. And right now, they both have had isolationist tendencies about not putting troops in the Middle East. So tell me how you're going to defeat ISIS then.
Right. She's tried to distance herself from him, but then saying, I was also in the Situation Room. It's a tough fence to walk.
Yeah, can
Morgan,
have it both ways.
Yeah, that's right. Morgan, great to see you this morning. Thanks so much.
Good to see you. Thanks.
26 minutes now past the hour, just hours away from their first showdown. How are Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump preparing? We hope that they're asleep at this hour. Yeah. We have the inside scoop from both campaigns.
I don't know. They might be up and prepping as they get ready for their first face-off. The big question, though, do debates really matter? Our political panel is here with some interesting takes on that. Stay with us.
Take a look at the stage. It's Monday, September 26th, and we're just 16 and a half hours away from the first face-off between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump.
In a presidential debate that could be the most watched ever. Tonight's showdown at Hofstra coming as the candidates are in a dead heat. In a statistical tie in a brand new ABC News Washington Post poll. Take a look. Clinton led that poll by 8 points earlier this month, so the stakes could not be higher.
We have Fox team coverage ahead of tonight's debate. Mike Emanuel is covering the Clinton campaign. This morning, though, we start with John Roberts on how Donald Trump is getting ready. Good morning, John.
Clayton, Heather, good morning to you. You know, Donald Trump has been preparing for this debate in all the atypical ways. I mean, he's never been much of a typical politician, and his debate prep is still following that same pattern. Not engaging in mock debates, not really having anybody playing Hillary Clinton, more or less just kind of going over ideas and the things that they would like to have him say in terms of broad themes. They don't want him to get into a heavy dissertation of policy or try to pull something like that off. They just want him to talk about some broad themes, have a few good sound bites, maybe get a couple of attacks in against Hillary Clinton, then walk out of there and call it a day. And they feel, because expectations on her are very high, that if he plays to a draw, they've probably won. Now, of course, all of the news in the past 48 hours about whether Mark Cuban, former, I don't want to say Trump supporter, but somebody who was saying nice things about Trump and then flipped the other direction, is going to be sitting front row for the Hillary Clinton campaign. We don't know if that will happen. And then the idea that the Trump campaign would reciprocate by putting Jennifer Flowers in the front row. The Jennifer Flowers part of that, we confirmed yesterday, has gone away. As to whether or not the other thing will happen, listen to what Reince Priebus said yesterday.
I think that the Committee on Presidential Debates has made it clear that we're not going to have these kind of shenanigans in the front row, in the screenshot tomorrow night. I don't know exactly what the process is going to be for making sure that that doesn't happen. Obviously, family members are going to be in those prime spots, but certainly, you know, some kind of oddball scenario I don't think is going to be allowed by the debate commission.
You know, there's always these expectations games that are played by both campaigns leading up to the debates, particularly the first one, but there's an inordinate amount of head games, if you will, being played here as well. As to what Donald Trump will be like on the stage, his campaign says they just want him to be himself. I talked to one aide yesterday who said if you got a consultant in there saying say this in exactly the same way, Trump would probably tell him to get out of the room. So it's going to be interesting, though, Clayton and Heather, to see what transpires tonight. No question about that.
Yeah, John, breaking that news yesterday. yesterday on Fox and Friends, nope, Jennifer, we're walking this back. No Jennifer Flowers. We don't know what's going on.
Flowers.
Yeah.
Right. But anytime you can use the word shenanigans, I like it.
Yeah, and head games, too. All right, John, great to see you. The Clinton campaign crying foul before it even begins, saying Trump shouldn't be graded on a curve.
Senior political correspondent Mike Emanuel has live for us with the latest on the Democrats' debate preps. Good morning, Mike.
Well, good morning, Heather and Clayton. After a whole lot of studying and debate preparation, debate day is finally here for Hillary Clinton with a huge audience expected to be watching. Clinton did about 2.5 hours of more debate prep until about 11 o'clock last night at a hotel about a 20-minute drive or so from her Chappaqua, New York home. The debate hall here at Hofstra University is set with Trump 6'3" and Clinton 5'4". The debate commission wants to make sure everything looks right on television, and Clinton's team says Trump should not be graded on a curve.
You're going to see him have to get into specifics, and Hillary too, right? Fair is fair. You got to hold them to an even standard. But we're going to see who can answer the specific questions. I mean, Donald Trump hasn't even answered a basic question that voters ask of every presidential candidate. Show us your tax returns.
Clinton also met with the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, last night at a New York City hotel. Aides say Clinton stressed a strong and secure Israel is vital to the United States. This is all part of the audition to be our next commander-in-chief. And Clinton advisors say tonight is an opportunity for the American people to look at the candidates and see who is ready to be commander-in-chief.
He needs to have coherent answers to the questions. He needs to demonstrate a command of the issues, and he needs to roll out specific plans about how he's going to make life better for Americans.
Expectations are high for Hillary Clinton after all of her debate experience and also all of her government experience. So meeting or exceeding those expectations will be her challenge. Clayton, Heather.
All right, Mike Emanuel live for us this morning. Thanks so much, Mike. And we asked what you wanted to hear from the candidates in tonight's debate, and your responses are pouring in at this hour.
Karen says the truth to come out of Hillary Clinton's mouth, and Mr. Trump stay on course and not ramble.
P. Doyle says, what specifically will you do that will result in a substantially improved livelihood for all Americans during your first year in office? P. Doyle, you wrote that at 4:30 in the morning. Good for you.
Well, Martha wrote this on Instagram. She says, I want to hear Mr. Trump's border security plan without Clinton interrupting him.
Thanks, Martha McCallum, up early with us at 4:30.
Might be her.
And Sharon says something that is impossible from Hillary Clinton, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Keep your comments coming. We're going to share them throughout the show this morning.
Yeah, we certainly will. The time now is about 20 minutes until the top of the hour, though, and Hillary Clinton's campaign responds after the FBI reveals a cover-up with her email scandal.
What's the Hillary cover-up operation that the IT worker was referring to?
The Republicans in the House side are selectively leaking documents for the purpose of making Hillary look bad.
And that is just the beginning. We're live in Washington when we come back. 39 minutes past the hour. It's 4 a.m. on the East Coast. Hillary Clinton's camp has no answer for the email cover-up operation revealed in FBI notes.
But they do have plenty to say about the immunity deals her top aides received. Let's bring in Fox News Chief National Correspondent Ed Henry live from Washington, D.C. for us very early this morning with the latest on that.
Good to see you, Heather and Clayton. It's interesting because we always hear about the potential for an October surprise, something major developing right on the eve of the election. Instead, maybe this was a September surprise on Friday that 5 people in Hillary Clinton's orbit basically received limited immunity from the FBI in that investigation of her email server. Cheryl Mills, right at the center of it. You see her there, Clinton's chief of staff at the State Department. That's raising questions about why these people so close to Clinton received immunity from prosecution when in the end there was no indictment for Clinton or anyone else in her orbit. Bottom line is one of the other people to receive immunity was an IT worker who had privately written emails about a so-called cover-up operation for a VIP where they were trying to delete mass amounts of email, something that Clinton's campaign manager Robbie Mook was pressed about yesterday.
What's the Hillary cover-up operation that the IT worker was referring to?
The Republicans in the House side are selectively leaking documents for the purpose of making Hillary look bad. I would trust the career professionals at the FBI and the Justice Department who looked into this matter, concluded there was no case, than I would Republicans who are selectively leaking information.
You can see there's still no clear answer about exactly why those 5 people received immunity. You can bet this is something that Donald Trump may be pressing Clinton about tonight in their first face-off one-on-one in the debate. Guys, back to you.
All right, Ed Henry live for us this morning, breaking that down. Thanks, Ed.
Thank you, Ed. Well, they are the iconic debate lines impacting presidential election history. Listen.
Governor Reagan, again, typically is against such a proposal.
Governor, there you go again.
But can you get things done? And I believe I can.
Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy.
You know, the Cold War's been over for 20 years.
Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?
All right, Reagan earned a 5-point lead from that in post-debate polls, a significant and unusual surge.
But do the debates really matter, and can they impact the race? Let's ask our panel, Democratic Ohio State Senator Capri Cafaro and GOP strategist GOPAC Chairman David Avella. Thank you both for joining us this morning from Hofstra.
Absolutely.
Morning.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
So, Capri, let's start with you. You think that this particular debate will matter even more than the ones that will follow?
Absolutely. I mean, the stakes could not be higher. This is the first time that these two individuals have faced off one-on-one, and the eyes of the world, frankly, are going to be on Hofstra University tonight. I think that if there are any undecided voters out there, they're going to be looking to this first performance, and I think that this performance will set the tone for the remaining 2 debates, but this is the one where I think both individuals, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, have an opportunity to reintroduce themselves to the American public, showing that they have the temperament, the integrity, and the skill to be president of the United States.
David, what will people be looking for tonight? We keep hearing the word temperament being thrown around. Capri just mentioned it once again. Are people going to be watching to see if they get into a fight?
Oh, there's no doubt there's going to be a fight, Clayton. These two are going to go at each other. But let's keep in mind that if we learned anything through the Republican primaries, Donald Trump is a counterpuncher more than a puncher. And so don't be surprised if Hillary Clinton doesn't throw the first punch. All that said, right. Donald Trump having his own television show and having owned casinos knows how to win audiences. And you're in for a good night tonight.
Yeah. And speaking of those counterpunches, we have a little bit of if you forgot some of what unfolded during the Republican primary, just enjoy some of this walk down memory lane. Watch this.
I never attacked him on his look, and believe me, there's plenty of subject matter right there. With Jeb's attitude, we will never be great again.
You are the single biggest liar. You probably are worse than Jeb Bush.
This guy's a choke artist, and this guy's a liar.
Don't worry about it, little Marco.
So, which of the candidates will we see? Which Trump will we see, Capri?
I think that, Trump has to do his best to not take the bait. No question, Hillary Clinton is going to try to get under his skin. We've seen that already by, her discussions with bringing Mark Cuban front and center, as we heard earlier today in the show. And so I think he's going to do his best to try to stay on course. But I think that it's possible that, he does take the bait and, might get a little aggressive. So I think that he's going to try to be presidential Trump, but you never know what's going to happen on live TV.
Yeah, Eric Trump told Maria Bartiromo, David, that no one gets under my dad's skin, but that's actually not true. Elizabeth Warren gets under Donald Trump's skin. That was the one person, it seemed, during the primary that really annoyed him. Is Hillary Clinton going to take a card out of Elizabeth Warren's wallet tonight?
Look, these are not comfortable settings for Hillary Clinton. She is not good at being able to relate easily to people in forums like we're going to have tonight. We've seen terrible debate performances by her in the past. Unlike Trump, who very much, and you had some of the funnier clips from the Republican primary debate, he talks in a way that average Americans can easily relate to because it's the very same type of language they use when they're giving each other a hard time or talking to one another.
Format, though.
It is a different format, but ultimately, look, these two are trying to relate to the voters who are going to cast their vote, and this is how they're going to see them, is through this debate tonight.
Yeah. And Hillary Clinton certainly has lost her temper as well, as recently as that bizarre interview where she said, you know, how can I be, 50 points behind Donald Trump, and, you know, yelling, waving her arms and yelling.
Right. As if we couldn't hear it loud enough.
We'll see.
We'll see tonight, guys. Well, thank you for getting up 15 hours early for us. You can catch a lunchtime siesta and get ready for tonight. Thanks, guys.
Right.
All right, the time is now 4:46 Eastern Time. It didn't used to be, but Georgia is now suddenly a battleground state. The candidates in a close race, so what can we expect?
We will analyze what it will take for Donald Trump to win. 43 days until the election, and Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are in a race to win the battleground states. A recent poll showing Donald Trump with a big lead in Georgia. So what exactly is at stake? Here to help us break it all down is political analyst and president of Rasmussen Media Group, Scott Rasmussen. Thank you for joining us once again.
Great to be with you, Heather.
So we've been talking about the key battleground states. Now, Georgia specifically has traditionally fallen to Republicans.
It has. It's been a Republican state in recent years. Democrats think they have a chance, but we got to put this in perspective. From the beginning, we've been talking in a close race. Donald Trump needs to win every state, all these red states that were won by Mitt Romney 4 years ago.
Okay, so
that would give
2012,
206.
Romney won all of these in red.
Right, and that would give him 206 electoral votes. And we talked a few weeks back, if he were to win Florida, that would get him a little bit closer. Florida is very close right now. Donald Trump is ahead in Ohio right now. That would get him to 253 electoral votes. You need 270. And last week we said, well, maybe he could get there by winning Pennsylvania. That would put him over the top. That map is very good for Donald Trump.
But he has to win Georgia.
That's right. Any Democratic victory in Georgia would put him back down below. Democrats believe they have a chance in this state because of a very heavy minority population. But when you really look at Georgia, it's voted for the Republicans 7 out of the last 8 elections. Bill Clinton won there in 1992, but not in
the second time around.
That's right.
Okay.
And in fact, before that, the only Democrat to win recently was Jimmy Carter, who was governor of Georgia. So this is an uphill fight.
Georgia.
That's right. Good memory.
Yeah. I worked in Georgia for a little while. Albany. Yep.
Well, and look, this is a state where, rather than getting all hung up on the details of the demographics, Donald Trump needs to do well in tonight's debate. If he does something terrible and Hillary Clinton opens up a big lead nationally, well, Georgia will be in play, but it won't be his biggest problem.
Well, we mentioned the minority element and why that is important, but what are some of the issues that voters in Georgia may be looking at?
You know, the issues in Georgia are the same as they are everywhere in America. There are concerns about the economy, there are concerns about gun rights, there are concerns about these issues. But there is nothing unique that will be separate from his national message. So if Donald Trump runs a good campaign, has a good debate tonight, Georgia will end up in his column. And again, if it's not, if he loses Georgia, or if in a few weeks you and I are standing here saying, wow, it's really close in Georgia, well, then Hillary Clinton will be president.
So you're saying it doesn't just put him in question, that is it?
Right. He has to win all of these red states. He has to. There is no, if he loses a state that Mitt Romney won, Donald Trump cannot win the White House.
Any one of these in red, if it goes Democrat, then he's in trouble.
And this is something a lot of Republicans, you know, they're looking at the map and they're saying we're doing well in Ohio, we're doing well in Florida. They're missing the very serious importance of winning these red states. Now, most of them are pretty safe, but again, Georgia's one the Democrats have their eye on. Right now, doesn't look all that competitive. Ultimately, the path to victory has to win all the red states. Donald Trump absolutely has to win Florida. Has to win Ohio. That gets him to those 253 electoral votes we talked about. One path after that would be to win Pennsylvania. It looks like it's pretty close in Pennsylvania right now, although it's a state that's been tough for Republicans in recent years. There's a few other places you could go.
Virginia made a difference in 2012, but this time it's more Pennsylvania that we're talking about.
Well, look, if he wins Florida and Ohio, there's a lot of options. He can do well in Nevada and Ohio, some other states. Next week, we're actually going to look at Virginia and one other state that Mitt Romney won, North Carolina, your old home.
All right.
Very important state.
We'll look forward to that. Next week, we will see you.
And look forward to a debate tonight.
Yes, we'll see what happens. Clayton?
All right, thanks, Heather. Thanks, Scott. Well, it is now 54 minutes past the hour. Which Donald Trump will we see on the debate stage tonight?
You're going to see the Donald Trump that is conveying the message of positive optimism.
Positive optimism. More inside scoop from both campaigns. And as the countdown to the debate ticks down, what do you want to hear tonight? Send us your thoughts. Fox and Friends first at foxnews.com. We will read them next.
It is Monday, September 26th, and we are just 16 hours away from the first face-off between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump.
You're looking live at Hofstra University in a presidential debate that could be the most watched program ever. Tonight's showdown at Hofstra coming as the candidates are in a statistical dead heat right now, tied in this brand new ABC News Washington Post poll. She led that poll by 8 points earlier this month.
But after weeks of blistering attacks on each other, it is a different story.
The policies of Hillary Clinton have brought only suffering in our inner cities, just like her bad judgment overseas unleashed suffering everywhere she went.
We know that a lot of the rhetoric we've heard from Donald Trump has been seized on by terrorists, in particular ISIS. Mr. Trump is giving aid and comfort to our adversaries.
Or will it be a different story, I guess is the question. We have Fox team coverage for you ahead of tonight's debate. Mike Emanuel covering the Clinton campaign. But we start with John Roberts. John is standing by with the Trump campaign. Good morning, John.
Good morning to you. And the Trump campaign very much aware that the Hillary Clinton campaign is going to try to force him into a career and trajectory changing moment. So they're preparing for that. What they don't want to do is they don't want to fill Donald Trump's head with too many facts and figures that he might not be able to pull out of his, at the drop of a hat, given any particular question or any kind of direction that the debate goes in. What they would rather do is just have him focus on some broad ideas, get a few sound bites in here or there because they believe those are the only things that are going to be remembered, and a couple of zingers in against Hillary Clinton. Here's what Kellyanne Conway, Trump's campaign manager, said last night when asked by Harris Faulkner on the Fox Report if Donald Trump is ready for Hillary Clinton.
No. We're ready for Hillary Clinton. We sort of agree with Senator Obama in 2008 when he was running against her, and he said Hillary will say anything and do anything just to win. That's the Hillary Clinton that we're prepared for. But look, I think Hillary's in a tough spot, Harris, because Hillary Clinton needs to be held to account for her record. She needs to defend her record without the benefit of incumbency.
One of the things that the Trump campaign is going to try to play to tonight is this idea that Hillary Clinton's first answer to a debate question tends to be very polished, but then she sometimes runs into difficulty in some of the follow-ups. So Donald Trump will do whatever he can to try to push her into that follow-up territory. One thing that we know is not going to happen tonight, and that is that Gennifer Flowers will not be sitting in the front row. The Trump campaign put that to bed yesterday morning. They said it was only a response to what Hillary Clinton's campaign and Mark Cuban were talking about Cuban being front row there to kind of get into Donald Trump's head. Back to you.
She said she'd be there with a big smooch in her tweet, but I guess the ticket...
Not going to happen.
Yeah, the ticket is not being extended.
Yeah, it is already started.
Smooch aside.
It's a moot smooch. Thanks, John.
Well, a small pre-debate victory in the meantime for Hillary Clinton in the form of a supersized podium while her campaign calls for Trump to be fact-checked during the debate.
Senior political correspondent Mike Emanuel has been checking the podiums, and he's at Hofstra University with a preview. Good morning, Mike.
Clayton, Heather, good morning to you. Yeah, for Hillary Clinton's campaign team, there's clearly been an effort to build up expectations for Donald Trump and to manage expectations for Hillary Clinton. Clinton had a busy night last night, meeting with a world leader, another high-profile meeting with the Israeli Prime Minister, and also doing another 2.5 hours of debate prep until about 11 p.m. Her allies and supporters are calling for Donald Trump to get into specifics, coherent answers to questions, and are demanding a command of the issues. The debate hall at Hofstra is set, and with Trump almost a foot taller than Clinton, there's been an effort to make sure it all works visually tonight on television. Late last night, Clinton's running mate predicted she will deliver at the debate and took this jab at Trump.
She'd be very, very good. Donald Trump's a performer and an entertainer. I'm not taking that away from him. He's got a reality show, and he tells people they're fired with the big grin on it. I'm sure he's going to be entertaining, but he can't get away with like doing the 15-second thing and then walking away, not taking questions.
Clinton also met with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, an effort to show she'll be comfortable with these kind of high-profile meetings with world leaders if elected. Clinton's top aides are working the moderator and the media to say there should be no double standard.
I'm very concerned that Donald Trump will be graded on a curve. Just because he doesn't fly off the handle in the middle of this debate does not mean that he is prepared to be president of the United States.
We've heard the Clinton campaign pushing for real-time fact-checking of Donald Trump. They've warned about the possibility of sexism tonight, comments about Hillary Clinton's wardrobe and her voice and that sort of thing. And so they are clearly working it ahead of tonight's showdown here at Hofstra. Back to you guys.
That's right, Mike Emanuel. And then, of course, from the Trump side, they're playing down expectations, as we were talking about, saying, well, look, this is his first one-on-one debate. Don't expect too much from Donald Trump. We'll know how to handle Hillary Clinton. So both sides with the spin bright and early.
Yeah, well, and Clinton's campaign saying that would, in fact, end up benefiting him over her because there would be lower expectations for him. So he already comes in ahead of the game.
I think the stage, it was interesting, and that podium scenario was fascinating because, as Mike was talking about getting that supersized podium there, she had wanted to be standing on that apple cart or some sort of a box or stool so she could stand up to 5'4" versus 6'2", but at least she gets the podium.
Yeah, well, we'll see if that makes a difference. The anticipation, of course, is building minute by minute ahead of tonight's debate.
So we've been asking, what do you want to hear from the candidates tonight? And there is no shortage of responses at 5 a.m.
Bob says, what are the candidates going to do for the veterans? And Billy says, I just want Trump to stay on message and don't get irritated.
Arthur says, what is Hillary Rodham Clinton's strategy for dealing with the Middle East? And George says, I would like to hear them stay on topic and actually answer the questions instead of going off on an incoherent ramble.
We haven't done that before. Yeah. Well, Ashley says, I would like to hear their plans on cybersecurity. Obviously, hacking is becoming an issue, and I've not heard either one talk much at all on that topic.
I would like to hear more about that too, Ashley. Thanks. And Terry says, I want to know, what are they going to do with helping the small rancher or the small farmers out?
Very interesting. If you just take a look at those responses so far that we've received, it really runs the gamut, and it shows you what's important to individual people. I mean, Mideast policy and then economic policy when it comes to farmers.
Well, and look at that number right on your screen, right? 11% loosely committed to or third party, so there's a lot of persuadables right now. And if they're going to be paying attention to those things that our emailers are talking about this morning, which is actually the substance, actually issues. They don't want to see people talking about Jennifer Flowers and Mark Cuban. They want to hear issues.
Yeah, and tonight's face-off is expected to be the most watched debate in election history. So how critical is it? We just talked about those numbers there on your screen and the voters that are still considered persuadable.
Polls also show a third of voters will use the debate to make their choice. So what does each candidate need to say tonight to win? Here to weigh in is radio talk show host and Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall and GOP strategist, author of Red is the New Black, Kathy Lynn Taylor. Kathy Lynn, first to you, does Donald Trump need to be specific or broad strokes tonight?
You know, when he was advising Ronald Reagan, Roger Ailes told him, this is a conversation with the American people. You have to speak in themes. Hillary Clinton may have 30 years of facts and figures in her head, but the American people, over 70% on both sides of the aisle, are dissatisfied. That's why we're seeing so many still available as persuadables. And so what Donald Trump needs to do is really continue the conversation he's been having with the American people, because as we've seen over the last couple of weeks, that's resonating. This rise in the polls is really tremendous over such a short time this late in the game. That's what he needs to do. He needs to be specific about his economic policy, about his national security policy, but really most importantly, he needs to have a message, a mission, a voice, and he needs to continue that in very simple terms. You know, I once had a boss in the White House who gave great advice when I was there. He said, keep it simple, stupid, KISS. It's so easy, but it's really very true, and that's what Donald Trump needs to do. Yeah. Calm, cool, collected, and just, you know, keep it very real and very simple, stupid.
I think a lot of bosses seem to give out that same advice. I heard it as well. Leslie, let's take a look specifically at these issues and who people seem to trust on immigration, national security, and the economy. Immigration, Clinton 50% over Trump, 45%. National security, Clinton 47% over Trump. Very close there, 46%. The economy, Clinton 44%, Trump up 51% there. So does it really matter what they say or how they say it, Leslie?
Oh, wow, you've been talking to my mother, because that's what she always says. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. But there's some truth in that, because there has to be a relatability, there has to be a likability. You can't just stand there with stats. You have to have your facts, but I wouldn't throw out as many figures. But with regard to Donald Trump, Hillary needs to, I think, be very strong with regard to questioning areas she is ahead of him on: immigration, foreign policy, national security, because he has said things and gone back and forth. Is Mexico going to pay for the wall? Is there really going to be a wall? What is that ban? What does that ban entail? How is it going to be enforced and implemented? And I honestly think that's where her strength can lie, kind of, in a sense, fact-checking him right there on stage when she has the opportunity.
Yeah, but Leslie, does she run the risk of sounding too much like John Kerry with facts and figures, and then, you know, George W. Bush is the guy you want to have a beer with?
Oh, no, absolutely. She has to show, you know, I tell people this all the time. If you meet Hillary Clinton in person, and I have, she's a very different person one-on-one than she is in these types of venues. She even said that she's, you know, better when she gets the job than campaigning, and I quite frankly think that's true. She needs to have the relatability, because even, you know, her camp has said they expect him to do well tonight because he is a reality show star. This is something that he does very well at. He's very comfortable with, more so than she is. But she needs to let people see that and throw in those jokes every now and then. That's what people are going to remember tomorrow.
Yeah, and Kathy Lynn, finally, you know, it needs to be also a matter of who gets rattled first or who does not get rattled.
That's right. The name of the game tonight is tone and cool, 2 4-letter words, and they're incredibly important. Tonight has to be about a conversation that's delivered with a sense of humor and with a genuine affection for the American people. Donald Trump may not have as many facts and figures, but he does have the ability to be incredibly charming, and that's what is going to really work for him tonight. I mean, he has more charm in his little finger than Hillary Clinton may have in her whole body. That's really what's going to work with him. We have to have a different tone in conversation. I write about this in my book, because what's happening right now is people are not relating to Washington. Washington's not relating to people, and that's that 70% of America who's dissatisfied. So it's not just what they say, it is how they say it. And I hope we'll hear from Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, for that matter, this evening, more conversation about the impact for minorities, for women, for farmers. I think your viewers' comments were right on, for all Americans.
And hopefully not much discussion about little fingers.
Yeah.
Just talked about.
That's right.
Kathy Lynn.
Little or big of anything, for that matter.
No,
I don't want to go there
stay away
tonight.
from that.
Leslie, Kathy Lynn, great to see both of you this morning. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Come down to the charm offensive, which we heard about before.
2 hours of that tonight. Well, the time is now 11 minutes after the hour. The sports world still stunned after the sudden death of Marlins star pitcher Jose Fernandez.
As the presidential candidates get ready to make their case to America tonight, a recent NBC poll reveals most voters think that the country is heading in the wrong direction.
So what does each candidate have to do to prove they are the better choice? Here to weigh in, U.S. Navy Reserve officer and former Treasury Department analyst Morgan Ortagus. Nice to see you again, Morgan. Hillary Clinton has a fine line to walk here on this fence, because she's trying to also lay out, hey, I was in the Situation Room, right? I was there when all of this was happening. I make you safer. Yet also trying to distance herself from President Obama's foreign policy. Can she do it tonight?
It's a very, very tough line to walk, and I think it's challenging, because if you look at the past 4 years, all you have to do is look around the world. China has started building fake islands in the South China Sea over the past 4 years. Russia has gone into Crimea and into Ukraine. You've seen ISIS, which we did not see 4 years ago, attacking en masse our allies in Europe, attacking us here at home. So it's one thing to talk about being in the Situation Room. I don't know that the American people care about that. What they care about hearing is, what are you going to do whenever you see our enemies, when you see Russia, China, and ISIS acting in flagrant ways against the American president over the past 4 years? How will you change that? How will you be different?
And then there's also, of course, the Iran nuclear deal that is in question, and many think that is a bad deal. What does Donald Trump need to do?
I think the most important thing that he has to do on the Iran nuclear agreement is convince the American people and the world and the Iranians that he's actually going to enforce the deal. What's happened right now is that Iran is not abiding by the terms of the deal. They're constantly breaking the rules that were set in place to watch over their nuclear process. And so they're getting away with it left and right. And the president and John Kerry do not call them on it. They do not implement the snapback sanctions. And they don't do that because they want to keep this deal in place at all costs. If Trump were president, he needs to say, I'm going to implement snapback sanctions, and I'm taking this deal seriously to the letter of the law. And if you don't abide by it, then there will be repercussions. No one believes there's going to be repercussions right now in its current state.
Watch for both of them play to that 11% persuadables tonight, those independents. Morgan, good to see you this morning live for us to give us a breakdown and a preview tonight. Thanks, Morgan.
Thank you. Folks looking for a lot of specifics, I'm sure. The time now is about 25 minutes after the top of the hour, and Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump getting ready for round one. A debate coach takes us inside the preparations. Up next.
And can we expect some of this tonight?
You're the liar. You're the lying guy up here. Don't worry about it, little Mark. You're a tough guy, Jeb. I'm at 42 and you're at 3, so far I'm doing better.
Doesn't matter.
Little Marco, Lion Ted, Crooked Hillary. Which Trump will show up tonight? Our political panel on deck to weigh in on that next. Oh, it is Monday, September 26th, and you know what that means. We're just 15 and a half hours away from the first face-off between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump.
In a presidential debate that could be the most watched ever. Tonight's showdown at Hofstra coming as the candidates are in a dead heat statistical tie in a brand new ABC News Washington Post poll. Clinton led this poll by 8 points earlier this month, so the stakes could not be higher.
Now we have Fox team coverage ahead of tonight's debate. Mike Emanuel is covering the campaign, but we start with John Roberts on how Donald Trump is getting ready tonight. Good morning, John.
Clayton, Heather, good morning to you. Not only could this be the most watched debate in the history of presidential debates, but it also could be the most significant from a standpoint of affecting the trajectory of the campaign going forward. Remember Gore-Bush, the very first debate back in 2000, where it looked like Al Gore was going to wipe the floor with George Bush, and then it turned around that Al Gore made himself appear so annoying to many viewers that George Bush actually was declared the winner of that one. Donald Trump really aware of what's on the line tonight, so preparing in a way that he doesn't try to dazzle with facts and figures. He more wants to just show a personality, the confident leader, person who can talk about big issues from a 30,000-foot level and give confidence to voters that he's a person that they could vote for. So to that end, he hasn't been doing the traditional debate preparation of what's called a murder board or mock debates with a stand-in for Hillary Clinton, more just bouncing around some ideas so that he can score a couple of points against Hillary Clinton and leave people with some sound bites, really, that they can play over in their heads for the next few days as the campaign goes forward. Also trying to show that he is the indefatigable candidate who can go out there, do these debates, continue doing the campaign events as well. Is Donald Trump ready for tonight's debate? Listen to what Reince Priebus told our Megyn Kelly last night.
The team is very well prepared. The right people are in the room. And I can tell you that Donald Trump's head is in this thing, and he's been consistent, and he's been working hard, and he's got a really good attitude about it. But I can tell you, it's not like he's sitting around wringing his hands nervous. He's pretty calm, cool, and collected.
And one thing that we're not going to see, or one person that we're not going to see in the debate hall tonight, Jennifer Flowers. The Trump campaign saying, hey, we were only being sarcastic in saying that we might put Jennifer Flowers in the front row. So, Clayton, I know it's something that you were kind of itching to see along with Tucker Carlson. We talked about it yesterday, but not going to happen.
Well, just those cutaways in that camera shot would have been money enough for tonight's debate. Not going to see it, though. John bursting our bubble. Thanks, John.
Lots of bouncing balls going on behind him there.
You got like carnival atmosphere there.
Sign of things to come with a lot of juggling. The Clinton campaign crying foul, though, before it even begins, saying that Trump should not be graded on a curve.
Senior political correspondent Mike Emanuel live at Hofstra with more on that. Good morning, Mike.
Well, Clayton, Heather, good morning once again to you. After a whole lot of hitting those debate briefing books and a lot of debate rehearsal, debate day is finally here for Hillary Clinton, and there, of course, is a huge audience, as you heard from John, expected to be watching. So Clinton did about 2.5 hours more rehearsal last night at a hotel about a 20-minute drive from her Chappaqua, New York home. The debate hall here at Hofstra University is set with Trump 6'3" and Hillary Clinton about 5'4". The debate commission wants to make sure that everything looks right on TV, and Clinton's team says Trump should not be graded on a curve.
You're going to see him have to get in the specifics, and Hillary too, right? Fair is fair. You got to hold them to an even standard. But we're going to see who can answer the specific questions. I mean, Donald Trump hasn't even answered a basic question that voters ask of every presidential candidate. Show us your tax returns.
Clinton has taken a lot of time off the campaign trail in recent weeks. Her campaign has defended that, saying essentially these 3 presidential debates will be the 3 most watched events in the final 43 days or so of this campaign. And so bottom line, they will be looking carefully, and the media will be looking carefully to see how she performs. Bottom line, her senior advisors are saying this is an opportunity for the American public to see who's best to be the next commander-in-chief.
He needs to have coherent answers to the questions. He needs to demonstrate a command of the issues, and he needs to roll out specific plans about how he's going to make life better for Americans.
Expectations are extremely high for Hillary Clinton after her extensive government experience and also the debates she has done over the years as a senator and also as a presidential candidate in 2008 and 2016. Her team has actively tried to raise expectations for Donald Trump, noting that he has been a media star over the years. Back to you guys.
All right, Mike Emanuel this morning following the Clinton campaign, who has that razor-thin margin right now in the lead. Well, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton have been preparing for months for this first face-off.
And joining us now to take us behind the scenes is debate coach Brett O'Donnell. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good to be with you.
No doubt both teams very busy. I think they're probably already up at this hour. Clayton said hopefully they're asleep. Yeah. So what is the most important thing they need to do? We heard that the Trump campaign is talking about dazzling with personality, whereas the Clinton campaign, they're going to stick to facts and figures and specifics.
Well, if this is a debate about facts and figures and specifics, Hillary Clinton is going to lose because it'll be boring. Really, you know, one of the most important things in these debates is that you drive message and that you have a moment that captures the press imagination and the audience's imagination, whether it's, you know, Ronald Reagan's age and inexperience argument that he made against Walter Mondale, or even Lloyd Benson's "You're no Jack Kennedy" comment to Dan Quayle. It's very important that you create a moment of competitive advantage over your opponent, not just get on with facts and figures.
And ultimately, this is a television show. Let's be honest, right? We're not reading about it. We're not listening to it on the radio, Brett. And so to your point about it not being boring, remember that first debate with Romney and President Obama? It was like he was asleep, and then he came back and redeemed himself at Hofstra and kind of hit a home run. How does Hillary Clinton not appear boring and not tired?
Well, that's her problem. I mean, you know, Hillary Clinton has struggled to find her voice across a variety of debates. She is now focusing on her briefing books, but, you know, Hillary Clinton's challenge is to appear likable and to actually appear interesting in these debates. And I think that's a problem. I liken her to Al Gore in 2000, who came in with sky-high expectations because of their extensive government experience, but could never find their voice, and so consequently their opponent won, and George Bush won. So unless she's able to find her voice and project a vision and start talking to the heart as opposed to the head with facts and figures, I think it's going to be a long night for her.
And something else both candidates do not want to do is to have what you're calling that Aleppo moment that we're all familiar with.
Aleppo.
Yeah, absolutely. They have got to make sure that they don't make a mistake. That is the worst possible thing that could happen to you, because while you can't win an election in a debate, you can certainly lose it. And having a moment where you say something that is incredibly factually wrong, for instance, when Gerald Ford declared there was no Soviet domination in Eastern Europe, those moments can do great damage to your candidacy.
Yeah, Rick Perry forgetting which of the 3 departments he was planning to cut. Oops. Yeah. Oops. Yeah. People don't forget that kind of stuff. Brett O'Donnell, great to see you this morning. We thank so much. You'll be watching closely tonight. Thanks, Brett.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
And that also plays into the argument as to who will do the fact-checking. Should it be the candidates or should it be the moderator?
Yeah, well, I hope that the candidates take that on and not have to put that on Lester Holt tonight.
As long as they're right.
Yeah.
Well, the time now is about 20 minutes until the top of the hour. And after a long and hard-fought primary season, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump finally face off tonight.
We're going to take a look back at the moments that led up to this. It's been a long road, folks.
Welcome back. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton both taking time out from debate prep to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Trump sitting down with Netanyahu for a lengthy behind-closed-doors meeting at Trump Tower. The two discussed everything from ISIS to the Iran nuclear deal, we are told. Clinton's meeting with Netanyahu lasted less than an hour. Her campaign says that they had an in-depth conversation about Israel's partnership with the U.S.
And a surge of immigrants heading for the United States now stuck at the Mexican border. Look at this. Nearly 5,000 people, mostly from Haiti and Africa, are trying to get to California, but the U.S. has not responded to their asylum requests. Mexico gave each migrant 20-day temporary visas since they can't be sent back home to their countries. It's not clear what will happen after those 20 days are up.
Extreme weather forcing thousands of people in the Midwest from their homes right now. Evacuations are underway in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, as fears of widespread flooding loom because of this. Take a look at your screen. A possibly devastating scene as the Cedar River is expected to crest tomorrow morning. Hundreds piling up sandbags all around their homes, remembering the disastrous flooding that happened there back in 2008. The devastation destroying over 1,000 homes, causing billions of dollars in damage.
Well, a Samsung tablet sparking a fire 30,000 feet in the air, forcing a plane to make an emergency landing. No, this is not a phone. This is a tablet now from Samsung. A Delta flight from Michigan to Amsterdam was packed with passengers when the tablet exploded. A seat cover also catching on fire. No one was hurt. The Samsung tablet is not part of the worldwide recall of its Galaxy Note 7 smartphone. That smartphone's battery is known to overheat and catch fire, and even the replacement batteries, the reports are this morning, even the replacement batteries are also overheating.
That is scary stuff. You know, I have one of those, not specifically the Note, but I have a Droid, a Samsung.
Well, we might need it in here. It's a little chilly.
Yeah.
Do you have your exploding Samsung phone to warm things up?
I do. You can warm up with it. Here you go. But right now, let's check in with Steve Doocy. He is live at Hofstra to see what is coming up. So, busy day.
You know, warm up, Steve. He's got
I have an iPhone. It's a little freezing out here, but because I've got an iPhone, it's doing nothing for me. Oh, there's the weather. Currently, it feels like 48 degrees here at Hofstra in Hempstead, where the band for Hofstra University is tuning up. We got the cheerleaders. Everybody's ready. 15 hours and 15 minutes from right now, the debate between Hillary and Donald commences, and everybody will be watching. Rudy Giuliani is going to be joining us to tell us about the preps, because he's inside Team Trump. Geraldo Rivera, Bret Baier, also we're going to have with is Joe Trippi, and Ed Rollins, somebody who knows a thing or two about presidential debates. We got a busy 3 hours, kicks off 15 minutes and 50 seconds from right now, right here on the channel you trust for your morning news, guys.
It's amazing. It's like a circus atmosphere. The Cirque du Soleil is going to be joining Steve also a little bit later. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Right.
All right, we'll be right back in just 2 and 2.
Governor Reagan again, typically, is against such a proposal.
Governor, there you go again.
But can you get things done? And I believe I can.
Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy.
You know, the Cold War's been over for 20 years.
Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?
I still love that moment when he looks over at Al Gore. Hey, how are you? That's just a sample of some of those iconic moments in history. Reagan earned a 5-point lead from that better off question in post-debate polls.
But do debates really matter anymore? And can they impact the race? How can they impact the race? Let's ask our panel, Democratic Ohio State Senator Capri Cafaro and GOP strategist GOPAC Chairman David Avella. Thank you both for sticking around with us.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks for the band.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's definitely a lot louder there where you are at this point. A lot of people just waking up. We've been up for hours already.
Lots of action.
Yeah. So, David, I'll start with you this time around. I mean, it's been a long road to get here, but this is the first time that both of these candidates will face off one-on-one. How significant is it?
It's a big night tonight. Voters tonight will get to, for many of them, get to see insights into both candidates, who they're really like. Can they relate to these people? Do they talk about issues in a way that they can relate to? That's why it's a big night for both candidates.
Oh, let's just pause for the music here.
Sweet Caroline, you know I like that song.
A little Neil Diamond to brighten your morning.
We love the Sweet Caroline.
I have to ask you, what does it mean when we say this person won a debate? This person was the winner. What does that even mean? What should we be, because, you know, the media likes to almost immediately come out and say this person won. What does that mean?
Absolutely. And there's been some really good discussion around this of who is going to decide who wins the debate and who shapes that narrative. And in the era of Twitter and, you know, real-time sort of commentary, you know, people may get their opinions formed by external voices, if you will. And so I think it really is about managing expectations. I think both the Hillary Clinton camp and the Donald Trump camp are basically trying to lower expectations for this evening's performance. But I think, you know, for Donald Trump, winning means making sure that he doesn't take the bait from Hillary Clinton, making sure that he presents the fact that he has the temperament as well as the policy acumen to be president of the United States. Hillary Clinton needs to address her veracity issues, and she needs to be likable, and that's how she wins. So I think it really, what winning is going to be different for each one of these candidates.
And that's a good point, Capri. So let's take a listen, take you back in case you've forgotten, because there's two sides to each candidate. Which one will we get? Take a listen.
I never attacked him on his look, and believe me, there's plenty of subject matter right there. With Jeb's attitude, we will never be great again.
You are the single biggest liar. You probably are worse than Jeb Bush.
This guy's a choke artist, and this guy's a liar.
Don't worry about it, little Marco.
Why aren't I 50 points ahead, you might ask? I need your help to get Donald Trump's record out to everybody. Nobody should be fooled.
All right, David, quickly, a subdued candidate or aggressive candidate? Which should we see?
You can go to Vegas and bet every dollar in your wallet that they are going to attack one another. And in the primaries, we saw that Donald Trump is more of a counter-puncher than a puncher. So also bet on Hillary Clinton throwing the first punch.
And Capri, you know, President Obama was like asleep during his first debate against Mitt Romney a few years ago. Will we see a feisty Hillary Clinton or more of the post-pneumonia Hillary Clinton?
Well, I think that she's going to do her best to be as feisty as she can be, but again, she's got to try to have that temperament balance, trying to be likable. It's very difficult for women to strike that balance, and I can say this as an elected official. You know, it's tough to be both, you know, commander-in-chief as well as, you know, grandma-in-chief, and so, you know, she's got to find that sweet spot. And Trump, again, we got to remember Hillary Clinton is a woman, and he has to take some lessons from Rick Lazio in 2000, making sure that he doesn't go too on the attack and make her the victim.
Walk over to her podium with something to sign. Maybe she should do that to him and say, hey, I'd like to see your tax return.
Yeah. Which happened at the end of the debate, so it matters, you know, what happens during the debate and after the debate. All
right, Capri and David, we'll let you get back to Neil Diamond's performance coming up in just a short time here. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Well, the time now is about 10 minutes till the top of the hour. After a long and hard-fought primary season, Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, finally face off tonight.
Up next, a look back at the memorable moments leading up to the highly anticipated first debate when we come back.
The countdown is on. We are just 15 hours away from the first presidential debate. Do you remember how we got here?
Oh, man.
Long road.
Bill Hemmer takes a look back at the long and hard-fought primary season that brought us to this point.
He was the political outsider, bounding on stage 13 months ago in a performance that was far from conventional.
So our leaders are stupid. Our politicians are stupid. That's what's happening, whether you like it or not.
Nearly 25 million Americans watched as a new political fire was lit.
Our country is out of control. People are pouring across the southern border. I will build a wall. It'll be a great wall.
Donald Trump took his in-your-face style and then vanquished, one by one, all 16 Republican opponents.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, little Marco. I'm at 42 and you're at 3, so far I'm doing better. You started off over here, Jeff. You're moving over further and further. Pretty soon you're going to be off the end. You're the lying guy up here. I've given my answer, Lion Ted. I've given my answer.
When the debate season was over, the New York billionaire proved he was a tough target to hit on stage. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton still had work to do.
Let's go forward. Let's win the nomination, and in July, let's return as a unified party.
Bernie Sanders would not go away easily. Some believe, though, he was doomed the night he declared this.
The American people are sick and tired of hearing about your damn emails.
But Clinton showed in those lesser-watched debates that she could go head-to-head with anyone. Remember this 8 years ago?
I was fighting against those ideas when you were practicing law and representing your contributor, Resco, in his slum landlord business in inner-city Chicago.
Eventually, Sanders, running out of time and needing delegates, would concede.
I move that Hillary Clinton be selected as the nominee of the Democratic Party.
And now, two giant figures will be on stage together. Who will get the better in round one? It's the kind of contest that is only made in America.
Wow, it's hard to imagine. It's been over a year.
Yeah, I remember the moment that Donald Trump and Melania Trump came down the escalator in Trump Tower.
Right, remember the people that they hired to show up to his rallies?